Awesome. Great. Looks like we're on. Anurag, an absolute pleasure to have you here. For those of you tuning in, we're listening to one of the co-founders of LightFury Games. They've recently announced a very ambitious cricket game. Lots of headlines that you may have seen around the announcement. It's an e-cricket game coming out of India. It's been a while since we've seen a new cricket game coming to the market, right? And I think that's gotten everyone in the industry quite excited. Anurag, let me start by welcoming you here. Let's have you open with maybe your story, your background, what led you to video games in the first place, and just what do you enjoy playing?
Thanks, Nishant, and thanks for having me here. Really appreciate the opportunity. So video games has been a passion, like I guess a lot of other Indians growing up. We used to play Mario, Contra, those kind of games. And at one point of time, everybody wants to make games without knowing the complexities of it. But it's a fun profession, right? But then in course of life, that part took a back seat because of course you want to you had some certain goals. You went into engineering colleges, and actually that is where it came back because that's where in engineering colleges that the whole culture of playing games over LAN, be it Age of Empire, be it CS:GO, be it any of those games, is where you kind of at this I revived my interest into gaming again and wanted to learn the art, and that's where it all started from. So my initial first few years in India was started off with the company where I was supposed to make a 3D software tool, and that till that time I haven't imagined that I will start building careers in games. I was doing always side projects, but that was not really something which was very well known. I'm talking about 2004, and that's time it was not easy to get into games as well. But because my first project was into making a 3D app, a tool basically similar to AutoCAD as part of my internship, that convinced me this is what I want to do for the rest of my life. And then I got an opportunity with a company called Paradox Studios, which later became Jump Games, which is now a part of like the Reliance game overall. And that's where my journey in the gaming industry started from, and I never looked back. Um, I actually the first few years after Paradox Studios I was in Bangalore working for set-top box based games, which is very interesting because but we were dealing with a lot of hardware limitations, and that is where I learned the art. At the same time, it is like never as fulfilling because not a lot of audience were actually playing those kind of games. So I wanted to build the highest quality games. That led me to taking a plunge, going to Canada, started working with Ubisoft in the casual Nintendo Wii titles to begin with, and shipped 3 titles there. But then I got an opportunity to work with the Warner Brothers in Montreal, where I've worked on that was my first AAA title called Batman Arkham Origins, and that that was some experience actually to work on Batman franchise, understanding the actual nuance of that. That is a true AAA game, and understand how people think about building these games. And I would say that was in a lot of ways eye openers. Some things we had a convention that everything is beautifully planned. It's more about how you execute. And certain things about how the processes that leads you into building those games. That was really an eye opener about how detailed they can think about it. But then when it comes to execution, you have to be pragmatic. So the balance of that, which leads to this kind of quality of end results, and that was very incredible for me to see, and different styles. After Montreal, I got an opportunity to work with Ubisoft in Singapore, where I started working on Assassin's Creed franchise. I shipped 3 Assassin's Creed there. Initially, I was a senior developer, but then I got made the lead engineer and worked on 2 Assassin's Creed titles, Syndicate and Origins as lead engineer. And then and that was another a very contrasting style. How Ubisoft build games and how Warner Brothers Rocksteady builds games are two completely different, and maybe a separate conversation needs to be into to go depth of that. But that's very interesting as well. And again, that's what I was learning about how to actually work in processes, manages team across the globe, and working together to actually ship a title. That was a different set of challenge altogether. And then I got an opportunity to work with Rocksteady Studios in London, where I'm currently based out from, but I spend most of my time in India now. But Rocksteady Studios, the original creator of Batman Arkham series, I joined when they were just about to finish Batman Arkham Knight, so helped a bit on that. But then I started the new IP, Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, from the ground up, where I started the 4 characters, and basically was hands-on developing as well as managing the team there, which was again a very interesting co-op multiplayer game experience, is what now they're trying to get their hands on. And also in terms of, there was a lot of learning experience of migrating from a single person game, that's what Rocksteady was known from, into a multiplayer co-op game. So another huge amount of learning, and that is what was always my appetite, that I want to learn more and more. And that led me to a new company called Improbable in London, which is basically it's a game tech company which allows you to have, in simpler words, tens of thousands of players can play one single game instance, which is a persistent level, which opens up possibilities like Ready Player Me and all. If you literally, you can actually make those kind of games with their technology. And so I was director of engineering there, worked with AAA Game Studios across the platform. Now I was on the other side of the fence, helping game studios build games with them. So I was able to work with now a lot of simultaneous AAA giants who are developing on tool sets. Again, a lot of learning and learning how to build live operation games, what not to do. And there are a lot of learnings there as well, not just about AAA games, about how you manage them, what is the thought process from very early on. And you'll be surprised, even the biggest of the games, they make very simple mistakes. When you open up the floodgates of people coming in, everybody queues up, there's no queue server, and the game crashes. And then that makes a reputational damage of it. And so these are like very small things, but you have to plan for them very early on from the beginning and test it at scale and all those things. So that's another way of it. So that I was there, and then after that I was doing some consultancy work here and there, and that's where I've known Karan for a long time. And he reached out to me about this particular endeavor, what he had in mind. So cricket is very special, being it probably in the genes that you love cricket as an Indian. And but this was the next level, about not only just build a cricket game, but also do something with the Indian development team as well. Because when I left, we haven't built a AAA game then. Today also we haven't built a AAA game now, and that's a bit of a shame, because the talent in India is enormous. Maybe I'm a bit biased, but that's actually a fact. Everybody in the world knows that, the Western countries knows that. It's more about why we haven't been able to do that, and there's a chicken and an egg or solution to my answer to that. And and yeah, so that's what really got me intrigued into to build this kind of a game in India. And so yeah, I left everything basically, jumped the bandwagon. Myself, Karan, and Tina like started off this whole company, and now that time we were just 3 of us. Then we expanded because we have worked with a lot of people across the globe. So we're able to bring talent who are very good and understand this nuances and industry as well, and where they add value. Because I knew that just we would need experts to train some of the individuals. They are very good talent, but as well as there is a bit of a knowledge gap in terms of what it takes to build this. So we were able to get experts across the globe. Now they're working together with the Indian team hand in hand, and that actually is growing the level of development, and the results currently internally shows for itself. And yeah, sorry, it's a bit longer answer to your question, but I hope that paints a picture.
No, excellent. And I'm glad you've given me a good comprehensive background, right? But I do want to touch upon your other two co-founders as well, right? Tina
Mm.
and Karan.
Yeah,
Clearly, you're the guy with the gaming domain expertise, is what you've told me, right?
yeah,
How are Karan and Tina bringing complementary skill sets to Light Fury Games?
yeah. That's a great question. So Karan is, I would say, as a management guru. I learn from him every day, and this is not his first gig as founder in this ecosystem. And there are a lot of nuances in terms of handling on the business side of things, and scaling the businesses, and how to think 10 steps ahead of us, because we are looking into hands down into building this game, but also somebody needs to think about the overall structure. His background with an academy and growing it from the place it was to where it left, and coming out as a founder, a co-founder of the company, that tells you about that individual in terms of what he's capable of, and how can see the vision and understand the pulse of an Indian game, like Indian player diaspora, and an Indian people who, how they are looking at technology and how they're actually growing. So that becomes second nature. He's also has been a big gamer. So he just wanted to marry the two things together, and that brought him into this picture. So this is where we have been working very well collectively together.
What does current play?
Karan used to play all kinds of games, but he plays FIFA the most, I would say. And then also, he's been, I mean, Age of Empires, a lot of games. We've been playing games for a long time, but he's a
Interesting.
very big
Okay.
fan of FIFA, Call of Duty, BGMI. So, like, those kind of games are these days.
Cool. And how
Uh,
about Tina?
yeah, so Tina is, I would say, is somebody who holds us all together in place, and she has been the very initially when the Tencent came to India, she helped create the team, build the team. So she understands the space very well. She worked very closely with Karan, understand how to scale a business, because see, the thing is, going from 1 to 100 is relatively easy, I would say. Going from 0 to 1 is extremely hard, and that's another challenge what we have to present in the Indian gaming ecosystem. She understands how to build 0 to 1 and how to get people into the journey and retain them. We are having very big names from the world who are working in our game right now. So, like for example, lead producer from Assassin's Creed, who has also worked on as the creative director for Skull and Bones, is our creative director here, Justin Farron. Our CTO, Chong Yu, was PhD from MIT in machine learning and AI, and worked on Sims franchise and EA, and was at Improbable. So understands the core mechanics of AI. So like really code in-depth, talented individuals, and I can go on and on. We have people from Codemasters, like the people who built the initial brand Cricket. They are part of it, building our physics systems. So there's a whole range of people who we have. It's about getting them together and building a team with them, retaining them, keeping and creating a culture which makes how this Western talent works and blends together with the Indian developers base. It's kind of a one of its kind. Like there's a lot of things what I was also not very sure about how will that actually work out. And so far, I could not thank Tina enough for managing that very smoothly and building and retaining this team. What we have right now, I can tell you this is probably one of the best teams, if not the best team in India right now. And that's a lot of credit goes to Tina. So we have our own job, like actually kind of work like three pillars and take care of our domain. So we don't have to, like, say, I don't have to worry about, okay, how are the policies and the people, be the culture, how are we building. Tina will take care of that. How are we growing as a business, and how we are looking into the surviving in the Indian market and growing in that ecosystem and understanding the pulse of the audience in India. Karan will take care of that. And I will take care of what we actually build and how we go about and make sure that our game is the cutting edge. So that's how together all three of us have been working very closely, and I guess the result will show for itself, and ultimately when the game comes out.
Look, I think there's this moment that the Indian gaming industry is having, right, where it feels like we're finally importing talent and then sort of having a knowledge transfer done. You're
Yeah,
doing this. Just last week, I spoke to the good folks from Tara Gaming. They're doing this with their game Age of Bharat, and I
yeah,
think India is having a moment right now. So it's something that should not be missed, right?
yeah.
Let me ask a slightly double click question on your game and your venture, right? Why cricket?
Yeah, so that's a great question, because I do get a lot, and apart from it being a very personal thing, which I said, that's close to my heart personally, and also not just me, Karan and all. Karan has been a cricketer before, and represented the university, and he's also played at state level. So so he has connections and also understand the sport at the grassroots level, and he has been playing other cricket games, and that's one of the place where it started from, that a lot of things are not getting covered and doesn't get the satisfaction of playing the cricket game. It doesn't feel right. So that's how it started from. But before we get into building a particular game, when we got together, we did an extensive amount of research into what games we can build. Cricket was one of the ideas to begin with. But why we narrowed down on cricket is because, see, one thing what we are doing is, like I mentioned, that there is a lack of experience of building these kind of high AAA quality, the best quality games in India. We have the talent, but we haven't. So what we wanted to do was take the talent and help them ramp up, grow them in their understanding of how to build the game of this kind of quality. But while we're growing them, but we are also building the game at the same time. It's like driving a car while I'm also assembling the pieces together of it, right? And of course that comes with a risk and its own set of challenges. There are other gaming just like genres like MMO shooters and all those things. The complexity and the time it takes for them to actually build is significantly high. So and we are also building the game on Unreal Engine. So we wanted to get people understanding and how to build these games on a game like cricket. And that is in terms of the development cycle, that is an approach that we do not go massive early on and then over promise and maybe under deliver. We don't want to go start building a GTA, even if every developer wants to build a GTA or MMO of some sort at a given point of time, or the best shooter ever. But that will come at times. Like we are not going to be one game studio. This is the first step of that, and taking the first step into something which is we know cricket is religion. It's in the market. It is underutilized. There was definitely a big gap in the market. We have a team which we need to build, and while building the team, we also need to deliver and ship this title. So all the things were added together for us to make a decision that this is the time there's a gap in the industry, and we can really hit it hard with our team and showcase. And when we do that, we ramp up our team and to build more and more projects and set an example. So it's something which was, in our opinion, it's a very doable. But the creativity and things what we are actually going to add, that is going to take it to the whole game to the next level. And it was accumulation of all of these multiple factors which led us to convince that this is the best game for us to build right now.
Got it.
And here
Let's
we
so
are.
let me just go deeper on that, right? Because so in India specifically, there are quite a few cricket games right now, right? There's Real Cricket, which I believe recently got acquired by Krafton.
Yep.
They're at, I think their franchise is at about 500 million lifetime downloads. Just last month, I think they did like 3 million odd downloads.
Yep.
Really, popular game right now. There's WCC by Nazara. There's the Harsha Bhogle backed Hit Wicket, and there's also Dream 11's Dream Cricket, right?
Yep.
So from an outsider's perspective, it feels like this is a very crowded space right now, right? There's a lot of big names backing a lot of these games, some established, some new. What is e-cricket's right to win in such a crowded space?
Again, another very good question. So I would say that see, cricket is a very complex game. It's not as continuous as a football or a basketball or things like that. So that's not you just can't compare that. So it's rhythmic, it's strategic, and it kind of needs to work across, like where it has various formats like Test cricket, T20, and all those different things. So that's what we have noticed is historically the games have like struggled to capture that nuance a bit. So if you look at the current set of games as well, so cricket 2007, Blind were there a long time back, and we are using the same principles and philosophies as of today as well. It has not we have not innovated in that space. So how to engage the players when there's a downtime of between overs, because it's not fast paced and continuously I'm not doing things, which is what the gamer content wants. So it has to be different elements which needs to come together in the space. The responsiveness, the game mechanics, what are the variations of what we can do, how multiplayer can really enhance the gameplay, the social aspect of it. This all of those things are missing in my opinion. So like, although I cannot really comment on directly onto the games, so that's not my place to say. But what we have seen that it's not a checklist that, oh, I did the pitch, I did the bowling, I did the batting, I did the fielding, and we have a game. We have missed the soul of it in terms of when you play the game. Do you have fun? Do you want to invite your friends to play the game? Are you thinking about the game when you're not playing the game? How are you the moment to moment gameplay refinement of like what are the advanced features? Why do you, when you pick up the game, you're not in 5 minutes becoming an expert, and now it's more about when I miss a particular ball, that's when I don't hit a six, and that is why I'm not able to score 36 runs. I scored 30 runs or 34 runs for that matter, and the person who scores 36 runs wins. So these things do not lend itself very well to the reach and how it can actually expand. So esports becomes a very important differentiating factor for us about people picking up the game, very easy to play with, but their skill level, they can grow into the game and upgrade themselves. There's a lack of progression systems, like we find it a bit shallow in the current game. The feeling of timing, responsiveness, the player intent, these things are missing in my opinion. And that's one thing which we have done a lot of research on, and this is where we come down to the name itself, e-cricket. It lends itself towards esports. We are not, it's not an afterthought that we will make a game and then see if it actually becomes an esport. We are building all the tools, the requirements into the game from the get-go itself, so that it lends itself very well. So people come in, they will be skilled players, will be able to win, and they have to use strategy also on top of that to be able to win and defeat other players, which is where it will become a very interesting aspect as an esport, where people would love to watch. That can create, open up different geographies across as well. So it's not just a cricket game who love the game. People will play the game for it's the reach it is getting. So, sorry. So I went a bit too deep into that. We can go in and cover it at a different place. But in general, esports is maybe to sum it up is like that. That's why I think we are missing. None of the current games lend itself very well to esports or the social aspect of gaming, which is what made gaming so big. We are doubling down on that. We are just making sure that we are the game. People will come for playing esports, and of course, that will expand the reach of the game across boundaries.
Two thoughts come to mind there, right? One is a little superficial, right? Because esports for cricket games has been attempted, right? I believe Real Cricket's been trying something called GEPL.
Yeah,
Not too sure what the success around that has been like. So that attempt is being made.
yeah.
But more fundamentally, right? Historically, sports games have not had large esports ecosystems surrounding them. I personally believe that this is because esports is inherently driven by viewership and community.
Hmm.
And people would much rather watch the actual sport than watch people playing a video game version of that sport, right? My question here is then, how are you thinking around this? Is because this is clearly going to be a roadblock towards building an esports ecosystem for a sports based game. Have you given this some thought? Like, how are you overcoming this?
So you're absolutely right. If the game is exactly the simulation of the sport itself, then you're absolutely right on the money. In terms of, then it becomes like, okay, so I would rather watch the game. Like, what is my advantage? And you're doing exactly the same thing. I would rather watch when their stakes are very high. So one of the things what we need to do is getting the stakes very high, also involving real player and all those things. But the other thing is the game mechanics, and this is what I was alluding towards, is that we can't have the exact same game which was built long time back, which is replica and a simulation of these games. It needs to have its own mechanics which differentiate itself from the real sport. So it can tomorrow it can lead to the real sport adopting something back from the esport. That's going to be the win for us, and that is what the features what we're actually adding. Unfortunately, can't go into too much detail of that, but you will see this is not an afterthought. We have before even we wrote one line of code, we have added features into our game which differentiates us from that. So from the regular other cricket games what you see out there. So they're all very good, and we are having the same gameplay mechanics and all, and much more advanced gameplay mechanics. Plus, we have certain features which I cannot spill the beans right now, but we have certain features which differentiates our game very, very differently from the other sport itself, and it can create its own game mode, and we will be providing flexibility to be able to do so, which organically creates very, very interesting moments which can lead itself into very into the esports kind of mindset. And that's the whole angle we are looking at right now. And but if you look at some, there are some successful games like we have WWE games. Actually, they're doing quite well into the gaming field, which is now translating it back onto the actual sport as well, which is and that's a win, I would say, in that regard. So it is doable. It's about how we are, what features we are adding into the game. It's not just a pure simulation. Pure simulation and the extreme gameplay mechanics is the core of the game. But we have added elements which hopefully may be adopted in the real cricket one day, right? So and that is going to be our differentiator. That is why people will be playing our game and watching our game, because it adds a spice to the game which doesn't exist at the moment. That's all I can say, unfortunately, right now.
Sure. No, of course. I think, all of us have to wait for the first gameplay trailer to drop before we can get a little more excited about this. But
Yeah.
on that note, when do you expect to drop some gameplay teasers and trailers?
See, I have to. Well, sorry, I will take a bit of a longer answer to that, because the short answer is that when we are ready, that's when we can actually showcase that. But there is a very good reason behind it. So the way we are building the game is that we have broken it down into multiple components. The core mechanics. One team is working only on the core mechanics, and they will continue to do so uh, relentlessly throughout the whole course of the game. Another team is working on the graphics fidelity of it and making sure it actually fits onto the device and then goes beyond that. Then we have another team which is working on the progression system, then also the initial advanced gameplay mechanics, what I just talked about. So we are doing all of those things into different parts. Now, if you take a snapshot of this right now, you will see like you might heard that the game looks like crap for the first 80% of the time, because these are all things are being built in different places. Now, if we were to showcase something out earlier than we are ready, people will look at it and make an impression of it. This might not be, or this is that. Either they will have very high impressions, which might change, or they might have very low impressions of which again might change, right? So we cannot guarantee. That is not the experience what the people will get at a later point of time. We did come up with a small, very small gameplay experience of that, and we showed that in GDC this year in collaboration with Amazon. I don't know, you might have heard about it, but that's what we did. But that's not a representation of the game, what is going to be out there, and people can misinterpret. And so it's better for us to actually showcase at the right time with the gameplay. But rest assured that gameplay is the most important fact for us. And as you might have seen our teaser, the teaser is made of the all in-game elements. So and that's what we are going to be true to the franchise. And then people, what they see is what they play, and that's very, very important for us to the core. And we want people to take the best impression of it. So that's why it needs to be revealed at the right time. But yes, I would say very soon.
Cool. Let's let's talk about platform choice, right? So, okay, first of all, what is the primary platform of this game going to be? Is it mobile first? Is it
Mobile
PC?
first.
Mobile
It's
first. Okay.
mobile. Yes.
Okay. I read this story from Vikas of Money Control, right? That
Yep.
you're working with Amazon Game Live Streams to enable
Yes.
cross-platform functionality.
Yes.
As someone who is very technically challenged compared to you, can you please tell me more about what is Game Live Streams and how is this going to benefit eCricket's player base?
Yeah. So actually, game stream is really exciting, and it's a disruptor. Basically, the cloud gaming or cloud streaming technology is going to be a disruptor in the whole gaming ecosystem in the times to come. We are still at its early stages of it, but it's definitely something to behold. And the reason for that is the simplest way to understand is the game is not running. I don't need to install the game onto my device or any device for that matter. The game is running on a GPU on a cloud somewhere else. All I'm doing is I'm watching the visuals of it like a YouTube stream, but I also have my controls. When I do the controls, it goes to the stream on the server, which is running somewhere on the cloud. The game gets played, and then you see the output real time. The technology was evolved so much that you will not feel the latency of it at all. That I'm doing something I'm not playing on my device. So it is not limited to any mobile device. The reach becomes insane, that anything, like even if you have like the simplest smartphone, the game will work on that. Or if you have the highest advanced latest PS6 or any other console which might come out in the future, it will work on that too. And it's all, the fidelity is exactly the same because we are running it on a web browser. So as long as you have any web browser, you will be able to play our game. And that's in my opinion disrupts and changes the whole ecosystem of what kind of games, what does cross platform even mean. It will change the definition of that, because our game would be ready across all platforms, so you can play no matter where you're coming from. As long as you have the correct controller attached to it, you will be able to play from your TV to a mobile or anything for that, and then that matter, and that the fidelity remains exactly the same. So we are very, very bullish on that, and that is what we actually demoed running live to a player base in USA and GDC, which is the world's biggest forum, which they were kind enough or basically invited us to show to demo game, which was a very proud moment, I would say, for the Indian gaming ecosystem, the first time that has happened. But I would also tell you that they have a whole catalog of games like Hitman and Atari games and all. And cricket is not a game which is played or understood very well in USA. But we had a like significant audience of players coming and playing our game all the time. So also that kind of reinforces the faith in the game, that it can survive without people actually understanding the game what it is. But in general, that's what the Amazon Game Live streams is. It's a technology where we can upload our executable onto their platform. We make sure our game is latency tolerant as much as possible, and it plays out in a way that I can give you a link. You can click on the link and immediately start playing the game without having to worry about wanting to install this game or
Mhm.
the more upgrade DLCs. Nothing like that. You are just in the
Understood.
game immediately.
So essentially, Amazon's version of NVIDIA GeForce Now or Google Stadia, right?
Now Google Stadia, which came outside. So this is a matter of time. This technology becomes widely adopted. Gameless streams has already shown us it's also very cost effective. So that's the reason why we are quite bullish on this of coming out. But our thing is still Android mobile first. But this is also a technology which we are working on simultaneously.
Awesome. Let's talk about the definition of your game, right? So it's a AAA cricket game that's coming out um, early 2026, if I'm not mistaken, right? So now my question here is that given how recent breakout AAA success stories, be it Black Myth Wukong, which took 7 years and $70 million, right, or Clair Obscur Expedition 33, which just came out and did really well. I think that took over 5 years. Undisclosed sums of money went into that.
Hmm.
Of course, those games are in very different genres to e-cricket, but you know, do you think 24 months and $8.5 million are truly enough to build and launch a successful AAA game? It sounds extremely ambitious to me.
100% right on the money. And there's no denying the fact. Um, the only thing, however, so you have to consider that first of all, definition of a AAA needs to be understood very well here, um, because there's no real definition of AAA. AAA is the highest quality game in a platform. That's the easiest way to actually understand what is a AAA game, which has sometimes has a huge budget, sometimes it doesn't. Right? Sometimes a small indie game could become a very massively adopted game, and then that could become a AAA game because then they get the money, they add the features, and also that's they can keep expanding it. So on different platforms, different games can be qualified as AAA. On mobile, we are looking at things like, say, FIFA Mobile, Call of Duty Mobile, and so BGMI. These are all very, very good examples of what a AAA game could mean on a particular platform. Because when we actually build the content on mobile, the whole art production pipeline is different compared to what you actually build for a PC console game mobile. And you have to take a lot of nuance, also support on different platform devices. And here we are talking about running it on a mobile screen, which is much smaller. And so the resolution and the whole texture sizes and everything does becomes that much smaller. The production cycle itself is something which is really it gives us a lot of benefits. But that's not just it. It is more about efficiency, the level of polish, depth, and responsiveness is what makes a AAA game. But it's about how we blend the gameplay layers, how we actually take the authentic player feedback and actually build it into the ecosystem. The processes, what we have taken into account, the foundations, what we are building. So, for example, when we started off building this game, it's not just we started building, okay, my first stadium, our first team, these are the players, XYZ. We still looked at different components, what we would need to build this game. It's a live services game. It is not that done and dusted at in 2 years time scale. We have 3 years roadmap after that because a mobile game needs to exist for a long, long time, and we need to provide a lot of content. So the initial first few months, we only focused on the technology, what we need to enable that part. It's a live service game. Once we have that, then we started defining what is our formula for our game, and that is where we are right now, looking at all the different mechanics and finding the formula, and then becomes production at scale that we can go up and up and up, and we can take from there. And because we have defined, so we are using a lot of AI tools. That's one of the major things which has reduced the production cycle by a massive amount, especially on the animations, the characters, and that's something which was not existing previously. So if I were to say the same thing about 5 years back, that would be not possible at all. But here, it's not just about being possible. We have already demonstrated that at GDC in terms of the quality and the fidelity what we have actually been able to achieve on a PC level platform, which is also running on a mobile device and running with multiplayer capabilities. So we have already demonstrated all of that because we focused on the fundamentals first, and now we can scale up as we go on. And we have built the base for this. Again, a standard playbook, I would say, is in terms of what we have learned from the experiences outside, what not to do, and not just go, and that the some things should not be an afterthought. Like, I'm talking about esports, right? It has been from day one. We have integrated things like, how do you actually want to spectate a game? We have that already, and we built that at the foundational layer, so that tomorrow I don't have to think about it. And adding that retrofitting it becomes a massive nightmare, and that's where it takes a lot longer. So we have exact definition of what our product will look like after 2 years, and then what we need to do after the following 3 years. And that is what has led us to believe that this funding will get us where we need to be. Also, we have been extremely frugal, and we have with this experience, we have made sure that we do like a lot of fewer missteps, faster iteration type cycles, and the most of our funding is going behind the people, and it's the operation expenses are almost close to nothing. The marketing also has been fairly organic so far. So and that's some of the things, because we will go there when the timing is right. Right now, and we can look into future rounds as well when the timing is out. But for now, what we have is what we need, and it's more about delivering that quality in that given frame of time. Cricket, the amount of content we add and everything, that is for the 2 year cycles already been chalked out. And that's something which is I cannot disclose, but maybe at a later stages when we come, we will show you the whole production cycle and how we are building. We are keeping a record of all of that, so you will be able to see that, and you can see why. And we were so confident about it. And of course, you don't take our word for it. We have already demoed that in GDC, and we are now much ahead of what we did GDC in month of March. So we are 2 months of work. We have already crossed that. So um, that's what gives us a lot of confidence about what we're building. And 2 years cycle, it's a live operation games. It's the first step, and then of course we'll keep building after that as well.
Very cool. Right, I have just two more questions before we can wrap up here, right? The
Yeah.
next one is on monetization. I read something very interesting and exciting, right? It said that you're not looking to do traditional in-game advertising in your game, um, but you're thinking of rather IAPs like stadium upgrades and maybe direct advertising by on-pitch branding, similar to what you see in like a real cricket match, right? Can you tell us a little more about your game's monetization strategy and about the decision to avoid traditional in-game ads, especially for a game that I would assume is primarily targeting the Indian consumer who tends to be a small spender.
So one thing which is I would say that the Indian ecosystem is evolving. India tends to be a small spender, but if you have looked at how eFootball has come out, and the FIFA, BGMI, they're all success stories on mobile where people are spending a lot, and then getting this over the line. Indians are now buying IPL tickets for 5,000 rupees, right? Because the affordability has gone up. So those are all facts. Having said that, one of the main things what we really feel is that the monetization is a very, very important and core aspect, and we have already built up hooks, and we have thought about it carefully in terms of what it means. Um, our main focus is around retention. When the players love to play the game and they're coming back at playing the game, all this monetization strategy will fall into place, and it will go up and up and up in terms of how you want. That's the player ads at times really disrupts your overall experience of that. Doesn't mean we will not use player ads, but if I play the game and I get an ad and play a game, get an ad, and then basically I don't want to play it anymore. The time I have from an audience is very limited. I need to make the most of the what 5, 10, 20 minutes the person will actually give us, and we want to get them away with the best possible experience. Now, if they want to explore ads and all those things in app purchase, then be it, we will always provide different ways of actually doing that, and we are exploring multiple strategies on it. But we are focusing on like literally fair and transparent monetization. Like, we are not going to have pay to win, like never going to happen. It's more about the cosmetics, the progression based unlocks, premium content which will come at a value. We talked about how we can also give it with game live streams across devices, so that will another be a premium content, so you can play a very high PC fidelity. game across a platform. So that allows you to be able to attract a different player base. Over time, we will expand into battle passes, limited time events, and community-driven loot drops. And these are all strategies which has now been part and parcel of the modern day of monetizing of a game. So the current way, and we need to evolve as the Indian economy is growing, and the diaspora is more and more aware of other games which are out there in the market. We can't be doing the traditional monetization. That is why our focus has to be retention. That is the most important metrics. People should love our game. When they love the game, everything falls into place, and you can actually do this in multiple ways. It's still valuable. So and of course it takes time, but at the same point it is what the standards what you're building for everything. And actually cricket, for that matter, it does lend itself very well. I could not do that in a role-playing game or a shooter game, but I have perimeter boards, right? It is not intrusive to a cricket playing experience, and the perimeters board, we can have dynamic ads there. And that changes in terms of what we can do. It doesn't intrudes and breaks the players progress, and they don't really get frustrated by this. But at the same time, it's a very good way of advertising. It can be done simultaneously in terms of some other live tournaments going on, so we can leverage on that sideboard. So, and again, these are some things which you will see very early on, how we are trying to look into this. A bit of the games we actually showed that in GDC as well, but there's a lot more will come later on about how we are thinking about monetizing this. And we are very, very confident, as long as our focus is retention and we are building all the tools for us to monetize on our sound. We don't have to give them every 2 seconds another ad coming up. That is not the experience, and we will never have anything that you can actually pay and then become stronger, and then you can win from there. So
What's something that you think young Indian game devs are doing wrong when they start their journey?
see, I will tell you this very, very honestly, that game development is not easy. And I really admire the courage it takes for people to come out and start building games against, most of the times, against the family wishes. Still, like even for me, 2004, like when I said I want to build games, like it was frowned upon, right? Like family were like, "So why do you want to do this? Like you can go, and my friend's son works in, say, this TCS and all, and Google, so like you can actually do any of this. I was good in academics. So why do you want to build games? Because I want to. And you know that at that point of time where you do not know anything better, you come from a middle class family, you want to follow your dreams, and it takes a lot of courage to be able to do so. So first, I want to open that anybody who's doing this, I really admire the courage, and I know what it takes. The pressure you feel of the worry about failures and things like that. So I would not say anything in terms of the Indian why they are not being successful. There are plenty of reasons. The experience is one of the part. I would say I was lucky enough to get the experience and learn from the industry experts. Not everyone is. We are trying to change that. We are trying to not to repeat the mistakes what we have done in the past, and that's transfer that knowledge to others, who then basically will be able to transfer it to further a more number of people. And that is why it's the whole new way of building games is coming through with working with the people who have done this before, should help understanding and the faith. But it's not about doing it wrong. It's I've seen, I was like IGDC last year, IGDA, and I found very, very good games being developed by the indie people. So it was a very encouraging sign for me. It's a matter of time that these are not being recognized, but I would happily say these games stand up on its own against a lot of indie games across the world. There are mistakes, small things here and there, but that doesn't define who you are. When you want to get into the AAA space or the highest quality game, of course, you need certain acumen or certain understanding of that, and that will come only with experience. You don't expect a person coming out of college grad and start building things, and then to be able to understand all the nuances. Once they get the mentorship and guidance, that is where they will actually flourish. So I really, really admire the courage, and I really want people to come out and keep building this so that we change the mindset. That is actually a very, very prudent career choice, and people love doing what they do. It's a passion-driven industry. I could not have done anything else, and I would probably never do anything else in my remaining career because I love what I do. And so there's no other satisfaction than when the gamers play your game and write comments, sometimes negative, sometimes positive, but that's what is such an important element of you working with people, that you are able to touch their life in some way or the other. They are actually spending a lot of time on things and thinking strongly about it, negative or positive. I hope positive, but that's where you always aspire from, and you learn from your mistakes and keep doing that. So my only word would be like, keep at it, keep trying to learn from different people. Don't hesitate to approach anybody and ask them the questions, because and be specific about the questions as well. Their time is limited, but if you ask the questions, I'm hoping, I'm more than willing to provide any kind of mentorship, whatever I've learned, to anybody in India and abroad, and to help those developers, because I know what I had to go through, and the challenges I faced, and I just hope that I can help out other people who are going through similar things.
What a fantastic way to end this episode, Anurag. And really grateful that you offered your help like this to Indian developers. I do hope someone watches this, reaches out to you, and it changes their lives as well.
I'm more than happy. That's what gives me the most amount of satisfaction. That's why I'm back in the Indian gaming ecosystem to make that difference. So nothing means more to me than this.
Amazing. Thank you so much for this conversation, Anurag. On behalf of AFK Gaming and the entire Northern Gaming family, we wish you all the success and all the best with your game, and we're eagerly awaiting the launch.
Thank you, Nishant. Yes, me as well. Uh, Hopefully, we'll be able to show you something very soon.
Super. Thank you. Have a nice day. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.